It was January 2021, middle of the pandemic, and I was working nights as a County 911 dispatcher in Western Colorado. I don't tell this story at work. There isn't a policy against it. There isn't a rule. It's just one of those things you don't say out loud because once you do, it becomes real. The call came in at 2:17 a.m. I remember the exact time because nothing else had happened for almost 40 minutes. No traffic stops. No medicals. No domestics. Just the low hum of the fluorescent lights and the soft static bleed from open radio channels. When the line lit up, I answered like I always do. County 911. What's the address of your emergency? There was no response. That isn't unusual. People pocket dial. Kids play with phones. Accidental SOS triggers were common back then. Hello? I said again. If you can hear me, make any noise. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Not panicked breathing. Not crying. Not someone running. Just steady, controlled breathing. Close to the microphone. I leaned forward in my chair. Sir? Ma'am? I need you to speak to me. The breathing continued. Slow. Inhale. Exhale. I checked the call data on my screen. The system showed coordinates instead of a registered address. That usually meant a cell phone pinging off a nearby tower. The location field populated. County Road 58. Mile marker 11. That's nothing but open ranch land and scattered properties. No businesses. No streetlights. No gas stations. Just dark fields and long driveways. Are you at County Road 58? I asked. If you can't speak, tap the phone. Silence. Then faintly I heard something else. Not wind through trees. Whine through something hollow. Like it was moving past a doorway or broken frame. Are you outside? I asked. The breathing stopped. Completely. I waited. Nothing. Then the line went dead. I sat there for maybe 3 seconds before dispatching a deputy for a welfare check. Protocol. Deputy Miller was closest. Unit 12, check a 911 hang-up. Possible open line. County Road 58, mile 11. Unknown circumstances. He acknowledged and headed that way. It takes about 20 minutes to get out there from town at night. While he was en route, I ran the phone number. Prepaid cell. No subscriber info attached. Not unusual, but not helpful either. At 2:39 a.m., Miller radioed in. I'm at mile 11. Not seeing any vehicles roadside. Copy, I said. Ping radius shows approximately 200 meters east of the road. That would put it off pavement. In the fields. There's a narrow dirt access road that cuts through that section for utility maintenance. Miller knew it. Turning onto the service road, he said. The radio went quiet for about 2 minutes. Then, dispatch. His voice had changed. Go ahead. There's a vehicle out here. Copy. Plate. Plus, it's odd. What's odd? It's parked in the middle of the field. No lights on. Engine's cold. My stomach tightened. Occupied. Stand by. I heard his cruiser door open over the radio mic. Crunch of boots on frost. Then, vehicle is a white Ford Explorer. Older model. Windows fogged. Fogged? Yeah. From the inside. I glanced at the outside temperature on our system display. 19 degrees. Any movement? No. Another pause. Driver door is open. That made no sense. If the engine's cold, why would the windows be fogged? I asked. Good question. He approached. I could hear him breathing lightly now. The faint squeak of leather. Then he said something that made my hands go numb. There's someone in the back seat. My throat went dry. Status. They're sitting upright. Not moving. Can you see if they're conscious? Long silence. Then, it's a kid. I felt something shift in my chest. Age. Maybe 8? 9. Responsive. I can't tell. He moved closer. Windows are wet on the inside, he said quietly. Like someone's been breathing in there for a while. Is the child restrained? No. Try verbal. I heard him knock on the glass. Sheriff's office. Can you hear me? Nothing. Kid's not reacting. Break the window if needed, I said. Stand by. There was a sharp crack as he struck the glass with his baton. It shattered inward. Cold air flooded in. Jesus, he muttered. What? The seat's wet. Wet how? Condensation. Everything's soaked. Is the child breathing? He didn't answer immediately. They're not real. The words didn't process at first. Clarify. It's a mannequin. Silence in the dispatch center felt different after that. A mannequin? I repeated. Yeah, like a store display. Dressed in winter clothes. Jacket. Gloves. Any sign of an actual person? Negative. He opened the rear door. The inside of this car is warm. That's not possible, I said automatically. Engine's cold. Hood's freezing. But inside, it's warm. How warm? Like it was just running. I checked the time again. 2:46 a.m. Any keys in the ignition? No. Phone inside. Stand by. He moved around. Negative on phone. He went quiet for a moment. Then, dispatch, there's footprints. Where? In the frost. Around the vehicle. How many? Hard to say. It's disturbed. Are they leading somewhere? Another pause. Yeah. Direction. Toward the road. Single set. No. My stomach dropped. How many sets? I'm seeing at least 2. Size. One looks adult. The other, smaller. Child-sized. Yeah. I stared at the map on my screen. Do they lead back to the road? Yeah. Do they return? Silence. Miller? They don't come back. He followed them to the dirt road. Dispatch, the footprints stop at the pavement. Stop. Yeah. Like they just end. Any tire tracks? Not fresh ones. Are you sure they don't continue across? They don't. He exhaled slowly. Dispatch, I don't like this. Neither did I. We called in another unit to assist. They canvassed the surrounding properties. No reports of missing children. No vehicles reported stolen matching that description. The Explorer's VIN came back registered to a woman in Grand Junction. She'd reported it sold 6 months earlier. No paperwork on the transfer. The mannequin was bagged as evidence. The car was towed. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. 3 nights later at 2:17 a.m., the same number called again. I recognized it immediately. Same coordinates. County Road 58. Mile marker 11. I answered. County 911. Breathing. Exactly the same. Slow. Controlled. No wind this time. Just breathing. Are you with the vehicle? I asked. Nothing. Is there a real child out there? Silence. Then something changed. The breathing grew closer. Louder. Like the phone was being pressed against the mouth. And then I heard it. Very faint. Not breathing. Another sound. A whisper. It was too quiet to make out words. But it wasn't wind. It wasn't static. It was someone speaking very softly. I turned up my headset volume. Repeat that, I said. The whispering stopped. Then the line went dead again. I dispatched Miller again. He didn't argue. He just said, on my way. When he got there, the field was empty. No vehicle. No footprints. Nothing disturbed. Just frost. Flat. Untouched. We checked the impound lot the next morning. The Explorer was still there. Locked. Cold. The mannequin had been removed and logged into evidence. But here's the part one never reported. When the evidence tech opened the rear door to double-check something, he said, "Why is it wet again?" The interior was covered in condensation, just like before, even though it had been sitting sealed in a freezing impound yard for 72 hours. No engine had run. No heaters. No one had access. I requested the call audio from both nights. The recordings were stored in our system. When I played back the first call, the breathing was there. Clear. Steady. When I played back the second call, the breathing was there too. But there was something else. Behind the whispering. A third sound. I had to isolate it and amplify the background frequency. It took me almost an hour. When I finally boosted it enough, I felt my hands go cold. It wasn't random noise. It wasn't wind. It was a rhythmic tapping. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Pause. Over and over. Like someone knocking on glass. I checked the timestamp. 2:17 a.m. Both nights. Exactly. We traced the call metadata again. Same tower. Same ping radius. Same location. County Road 58. Mile 11. The third night I wasn't on shift. But at 2:17 a.m. the phone rang again. Another dispatcher answered. Same breathing. Same silence. They sent units. Nothing there. No vehicle. No footprints. Nothing. The call lasted exactly 1 minute and 12 seconds. Every time. 1 minute, 12 seconds. We've had 7 calls from that number since January 2021. Always at 2:17 a.m. Always 1 minute and 12 seconds long. Always the same coordinates. The phone number cannot be traced to an active device. The carrier confirmed the SIM hasn't connected to any tower outside those specific calls. It doesn't show up on billing records. It doesn't exist in their customer database. But it calls us. And here's the part I've never told anyone outside the department. Last month I drove out there during the day. I didn't tell anyone. I just wanted to see it in sunlight. County Road 58. Mile marker 11. It's just open field. Barbed wire fencing. Dry grass. Nothing unusual. I walked about 200 meters east into the property. There's a slight dip in the ground where Miller had found the Explorer. The grass there grows differently. Thinner. Like something heavy had rested there for a long time. I stood there for a while. Listening. It was quiet. No wind. No birds. Nothing. Then my phone vibrated in my pocket. I froze. I hadn't told anyone I was there. I pulled it out. No notification. No missed call. Nothing on the screen. But the vibration had been real. I know it was. I checked the time. 2:17 p.m. Exactly 12 hours off. I told myself that didn't mean anything. Phones glitch. Brains misfire. Patterns feel bigger than they are. I turned to walk back toward the road. That's when I saw them. Footprints. In the dry dirt. 2 sets. 1 adult. 1 smaller. They weren't there when I walked in. I would have seen them. They led from the dip in the field. Toward the road. They stopped at the pavement. And didn't come back. I stood there staring at where they ended. My phone buzzed again. This time the screen lit up. Incoming call. Unknown number. I didn't answer it. It rang for exactly 1 minute and 12 seconds. Then it stopped. I haven't gone back. The calls are still coming. Always at 2:17. Always from nowhere. And every time the line opens before the breathing starts, there's a split second of silence. In that silence, if you listen carefully, you can hear something shift. Like someone adjusting themselves in the back seat of a car. It was February 2019, and I was working overnight security at a distribution warehouse outside Columbus, Ohio. Graveyard shift. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The building sits off a service road about a mile from the interstate. No neighbors. No businesses nearby. Just open lots and frozen fields. At night it feels completely cut off. There are 12 exterior cameras, 8 inside, and a small security office near the loading docks where I monitor everything. Most nights are routine. Truck drivers checking in. Inventory crews rotating shifts. The occasional false alarm from a motion sensor picking up a stray cat. That night it was 10 degrees outside. The kind of cold where the air burns when you breathe it in. At 1:42 a.m., I noticed dock door 7 was open. Not fully open. Just cracked about a foot. That shouldn't happen. All dock doors are closed and sealed after the last truck leaves around midnight. I personally walked the line before settling into the office. I rewound the camera feed 10 minutes. At 1:31 a.m., the door was fully closed. At 1:34 a.m., it was open 1 foot. There was no footage of it moving. 1 frame closed. Next frame open. No truck. No person. No visible tampering. I assumed it was a glitch in the recording. The camera system wasn't exactly top of the line. Still, protocol meant I had to physically check it. I grabbed my radio and jacket and stepped out into the loading bay. The warehouse was silent except for the hum of refrigeration units in the far storage wing. Dock door 7 is near the middle of the row. As I approached, I could see cold air pouring in through the opening, fogging the interior slightly. I pulled the door down manually. It resisted at first like there was pressure behind it. Then it shut. I secured the latch and checked the seal. Nothing unusual. No footprints in the snow outside. No tire tracks. Just smooth, untouched frost. I went back inside and marked it in the log. 1:52 a.m., dock door 7 found partially open. Closed and secured. No visible cause. At 2:16 a.m., my motion alert panel lit up. Zone 3, storage aisle C. That's deep inside the building. No one should have been back there. I pulled up the camera feed. Nothing. Empty aisle. Tall rack stacked with boxed inventory. I rewound 30 seconds. Still nothing. The motion indicator blinked again. Zone 3, same aisle. This time I saw it. Not movement exactly. More like a change in the lighting. A shadow that wasn't there before. I zoomed in. At the end of the aisle, near the emergency exit door, something was blocking part of the light. It looked like someone standing just out of frame. I stared at it, waiting for it to move. It didn't. Maintenance, this is security, I radioed, even though I knew maintenance had gone home at midnight. No response. I considered calling the police, but it felt premature. Could have been a sensor glitch. Could have been me imagining the shadow. I decided to walk back there. The warehouse at night is different. During the day it's loud. Forklifts, radios, people shouting over machinery. At night, it's just air circulation and distant mechanical clicks. Every step echoes. Aisle C is at the far end, past 3 intersecting rows. As I walked, I kept telling myself it was nothing, but my chest felt tight. When I turned into aisle C, it was empty. Completely empty. No shadow. No person. The emergency exit door at the end was closed and alarmed. I walked down the aisle anyway. Halfway down, I noticed something. One of the boxes on the lower shelf had been moved. Not fallen. Moved. It was angled outward slightly, like someone had pulled it halfway off and then pushed it back. I checked the dust on top of the boxes. There were finger marks. 4 of them. Like someone had gripped the edge. I felt the back of my neck go cold. I backed out of the aisle and radioed my supervisor. He didn't answer. Probably asleep. At 2:37 a.m., dock door 7 alarmed again. Open. I spun in my chair and pulled up the camera feed. The door was up 3 feet this time. No footage of it rising. No truck outside. No one standing there. Just black night beyond the opening. I didn't go out immediately. I watched the feed for a full minute. The door didn't move further. It just stayed open. Cold air rolled in. Then, slowly, it lifted another foot. No motor sound. No visible force. Just upward movement. I grabbed my radio and called 911. Security at Midwest Distribution, I may have a break-in in progress. They dispatched a unit. While I was on the line, I watched the door. It lifted another foot, then stopped at about 5 feet high. I couldn't see anything outside except darkness. The officer arrived in under 10 minutes. We walked out together. The door was closed. Fully closed. Secured. The officer checked the perimeter. No footprints. No tire tracks. Nothing disturbed. He told me it was probably a malfunction in the door mechanism and suggested we call maintenance in the morning. I didn't argue. After he left, I went back to the office and replayed the footage from 2:37. The door had opened. Clear as day. But there was something I hadn't noticed before. At 2 hours 36 minutes and 58 seconds, 2 seconds before the door moved, the camera feed glitched. Just for 1 frame. And in that frame there was something in the doorway. Not outside. Inside. Low to the ground. Like someone crouching. It was gone in the next frame. I replayed it 10 times. Same thing every time. I zoomed in. The image distorted when enlarged, but I could make out what looked like a hand on the concrete floor. Fingers splayed. Facing inward. As if someone had been inside the building when the door opened. I checked the interior cameras covering the loading dock. Nothing. No one visible. No movement. At 3:12 a.m. my radio crackled. I hadn't touched it. It wasn't a phone call. It wasn't an alert. It was just static. But buried in the static I heard something. A breath. Close to the mic. Slow. Inhale. Exhale. I pulled the radio closer. Hello. The static continued. Then it cut off. I checked the channel logs. No transmissions recorded. At 3:47 a.m., Zone 3 motion alert triggered again. I'll see. This time I didn't go back there. I watched the camera. The shadow was there again at the end of the aisle. Except this time it wasn't at the edge. It was in the middle. Standing directly in front of the emergency exit. I could see the outline clearly now. Tall. Facing the camera. I felt frozen in my chair. The police had already been there once. I didn't want to sound crazy calling them again over a shadow. I picked up the office phone and called my supervisor. He answered groggy. I told him what was happening. He sighed and said, "Just sit tight. It's probably camera noise." Camera noise doesn't stand in the middle of an aisle. At 4:02 a.m., the emergency exit alarm sounded. That door is armed from the inside. If opened, it triggers a loud siren. The siren didn't go off. The alarm panel simply showed, "Exit C, open." I switched to that camera. The door was ajar, wide enough for a person to pass through. Beyond it was snow-covered ground. No one visible. I watched as the door slowly closed on its own. Then the alarm reset. No siren ever sounded. I didn't leave the office for the rest of the shift. At 5:58 a.m., right before day shift arrived, dock door 7 opened one final time. Fully. All the way up. The sky outside was starting to lighten. For the first time all night, I could see beyond the threshold. There were footprints in the snow, leading from the field toward the dock. Bare footprints. No shoes. Deep impressions in the snow despite the frozen ground. They stopped directly beneath the open door. There were no prints leading back out. Day shift came in at 6:05. They saw them too. Management reviewed the footage later that day. They said the system had corrupted data overnight. Glitches. Dropped frames. Motion false positives. They replaced dock door 7's motor. They reset the exit alarm. They updated the camera firmware. I kept working there another 3 months. Nothing else happened. Until my last week. I was finishing up paperwork in the office when I heard a knock. 3 taps. On the inside of dock door 7. Not outside. Inside the warehouse. I walked halfway out of the office and stopped. The dock area was empty. The door was closed. The knock came again. 3 taps. From behind the metal panel. Like someone was on the other side of the closed door. Inside the building. Trying to get out. I didn't open it. I finished my shift. I quit 2 days later. Last month I drove past the warehouse. Dock door 7 was boarded shut. Plywood bolted over the frame. I looked up the company online. The building is vacant now. Shut down late 2022. No reason listed. Sometimes I still wake up around 1:42 a.m. For no reason. And for a second, in the quiet of my apartment, I swear I hear cold air moving under a door that isn't open. It was December 2020, right after the first big winter storm of the season, and I was working night shift as a snowplow operator for the county in northern Minnesota. We cover a lot of empty road. 2-lane highways that cut through miles of forest and frozen wetlands. No street lights. No houses for long stretches. Just reflective posts and whatever your headlights catch. My route that winter included County Highway 14. There's a 5-mile section about 20 minutes outside town that drivers hate. It dips low between tree lines, and when the wind picks up, snow drifts across it so fast it looks like the road is breathing. That night, I started at 11:30 p.m. The storm had technically passed, but wind was still pushing snow across the asphalt. Visibility wasn't terrible, maybe a couple hundred feet, but it would come and go in waves. Around 1:05 a.m. I got my first report. Dispatch said a semi-driver had called in about a vehicle parked on the shoulder near mile marker 62. Engine off. No lights. Driver not visible. That's not uncommon after storms. People slide off, get stuck, walk for help. I told dispatch I'd check it when I got to that stretch. At 1:27 a.m., I reached mile 62. There was a vehicle. Black sedan. Parked perfectly straight on the right shoulder as if it had pulled over normally. No hazard lights. No tracks leading into the snowbank. That's what caught my attention first. If someone had slid off, you'd see tire grooves cutting into the drift. This car looked like it had just appeared there. I slowed the plow and stopped a few yards ahead of it. I kept my engine running. Stepped out with a flashlight. It was bitter cold. Probably 5 degrees, maybe lower with wind chill. The sedan's windows were frosted over from the inside. Not iced from outside weather. Frosted from breath. I knocked on the driver's window. No response. I shined my light through the windshield. There was someone sitting in the driver's seat. Head forward. Hands in their lap. I tapped harder. Nothing. I walked around to the passenger side. Same thing. Person sitting upright. Not slumped like someone unconscious. Just still. I called it in. County dispatch, this is plow 6. I've got the vehicle at mile 62. One occupant visible. Not responding. They said a deputy was on the way. I went back to my truck to warm up. From the cab, I kept my headlights on the sedan. After about 3 minutes, I noticed something. The frost on the inside of the windshield was fading, like the interior temperature was rising. But I hadn't seen the engine start. No exhaust. No lights. I stepped back out. The frost had cleared enough that I could see the driver's face clearly now. It was a woman. Mid-30s maybe. Eyes open. Looking straight ahead. I felt that tightness in my chest. I knocked again harder. Nothing. No blink. No movement. Her skin didn't look blue like hypothermia. Didn't look pale either. Just normal. Like she was waiting at a stoplight. The deputy arrived at 1:41 a.m. He approached the driver's side while I stood back. He tried the handle. Unlocked. He opened the door. A rush of warm air came out. Not heated air like from a running engine. Just warm. Too warm for a car that had been sitting in single-digit temperatures. He spoke to her. No response. He reached out and touched her shoulder. I saw him recoil slightly. "Sir?" I asked. "She's not real," he said. I stepped closer. Up close it was obvious. It wasn't a person. It was a mannequin, dressed in winter clothes. Hat, scarf, gloves. Positioned perfectly in the driver's seat. Seat belt buckled. I felt my stomach drop. We both checked the rest of the vehicle. No one in the back. No personal belongings. No keys in the ignition. No phone. The gas tank was empty. Bone dry. The battery was dead. Which meant that warmth hadn't come from anything mechanical. The deputy called for a tow. While we waited, I walked around the car with my flashlight. That's when I saw the footprints. Leading from the tree line across the ditch. 2 sets. One larger. One smaller. They approached the driver's side door. They did not leave. There were no prints heading back to the trees. None heading down the road. Just 2 sets stopping at the car. Snow was still drifting lightly across the pavement, but the prints were fresh. Sharp edges. No wind distortion. The deputy saw them too. We followed them back toward the tree line. They went about 30 yards into the woods. Then they stopped. No sign of struggle. No blood. Nothing. Just 2 sets of prints ending in untouched snow. The tow truck arrived around 2:10 a.m. They hauled the sedan away. The deputy stayed behind to document the scene. I got back in my plow and continued my route. I tried to rationalize it. Prank. Art installation. Some weird stunt. But who drags a mannequin into the middle of nowhere during a storm? And why? At 2:58 a.m. as I looped back toward town, dispatch radioed again. Plow 6, can you confirm something for me? Go ahead. We're getting calls about a vehicle at mile 62. I felt my hands tighten on the wheel. It was towed, I said. About 40 minutes ago. Caller says it's there now. I didn't respond right away. Repeat that. Caller reports a black sedan parked on the shoulder. Same location. I was less than 10 minutes away. I'll check it, I said. When I reached mile 62 again, my headlights swept across the shoulder. The sedan was there. Same position. Same angle. I stopped 20 yards back this time. I didn't get out immediately. I just stared at it through the windshield. The frost was already forming on the glass. From the inside. I called dispatch. Plow 6 on scene. Vehicle present. Long pause. That's not possible, she said quietly. Yeah. Deputy is en route again. I stayed in my truck. After about 2 minutes, the interior frost began to clear. Exactly like before. And just like before, I could see her. Sitting upright. Hands folded. Facing forward. I noticed something different this time. Her head was tilted slightly toward my truck. Not much. Just a few degrees. Like she was aware I was there. My radio crackled. It wasn't dispatch. It was just static. Then, faintly, I heard something under it. Breathing. Slow. Controlled. I shut the radio off. The deputy arrived again. Same procedure. Door unlocked. Warm air. Mannequin. Empty vehicle. Dead battery. No keys. He swore under his breath this time. We checked the footprints again. 2 sets. From the tree line. Stopping at the driver's door. Ending in snow. The deputy requested a second tow. Different company this time. While we waited, I walked farther down the shoulder, shining my light along the ditch. That's when I saw a third set of prints. Smaller than the adult. Smaller than the other small set. Barefoot. They came from the woods too. They stopped about 10 feet from the sedan. As if whoever made them had stood there watching. The deputy hadn't seen those yet. I didn't point them out. I don't know why. The second tow hauled it away. This time, the deputy followed the truck all the way back to the impound lot. He called me 20 minutes later. "It's here," he said. "Locked inside the yard." "Good," I replied. I finished my shift around 5:30 a.m. The sun was just starting to rise. At 6:12 a.m. as I was pulling into my driveway, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but I answered. "Hello." Silence. Then breathing. Same slow inhale. Exhale. I hung up. Checked the time. 6:12 a.m. Exactly 5 hours after the first sighting. I didn't sleep much that day. Around noon, I got a call from one of the mechanics at the county garage. He said the deputy had brought the sedan in to inspect something. I drove over. The car was inside the heated bay. Doors locked. Windows clear. No frost. The mechanic opened the driver's side. Cold air poured out. Not warm. Cold. Like it had been sitting outside. The mannequin was gone. The driver's seat was empty. Seatbelt still buckled. No signs of forced entry. No broken glass. Nothing. Security footage from the garage showed the car being parked at 3:02 a.m. No one approached it afterward. No one removed anything. No blind spots in that bay. I quit plowing that route the following week. Transferred to daytime maintenance. Highway 14 still gets covered every winter. Different driver now. Last week, I ran into him at a gas station. He asked if I'd ever seen anything strange on mile 62. I didn't answer right away. He said last Tuesday around 1:30 a.m., he'd passed a black sedan parked on the shoulder. No tracks leading to it. No lights on. He didn't stop. When he checked his mirror, he said he saw the driver's head turn toward him as he drove past. He laughed when he told me. Said it was probably a trick of the snow. He said he didn't bother reporting it. Because when he came back through 20 minutes later, the car was gone. County records show no tows that night. No calls logged. No reports. But every winter, right after the first major storm, there's always at least one call from that stretch. Motorists reporting a parked vehicle. Engine off. Windows fogged from the inside. Driver sitting perfectly still. And every time a unit responds, the shoulder is empty. Just 2 sets of footprints in the snow. Leading from the woods. Stopping at the road. And not coming back.